Frédéric, let them eat cake. If you ask a French what was the dessert of his or her youth, chances are the answer will be a flan parisien or flan pâtissier. It has both names. When I was growing up, it was the dessert that you wanted your parent or whoever was with you to go to the bakery with and get a slice of. It is a crispy shell in which a very vanilla forward custard is baked. It is iconic in France. At the time, you did not make that dessert at home. It was truly something you went out and that's to buy, and that was really what was fantastic about it. And for the past 10-15 years, like here, we've seen the emergence of the celebrity chefs. And in France, the pastry chefs became superstars, and they brought the fancy baking to the home bakers. And every celebrity chef at some point had to revisit this particular flan parisien and give their take on this truly iconic dessert. The recipe I've chosen to share with you is made by Felder, who is a pioneer of that baking. He is also very well known for being maybe considered the #1 teacher of baking in France. His books are incredible. You understand these books and you can open your shop. So the recipe has two components, the dough and the cream. Both are extremely easy to make. The only thing you need to remember is to respect resting times. You can do everything on the same day, part of it the day before, and then the day after. It's up to you, as long as you respect the resting times. So the reason I chose this particular recipe is because Christoph Felder uses a shortbread crust. You can use puff pastry, you can use short crust, but he uses the shortbread crust. In France, we call it pâte sablée, which is the sandy dough, and I really enjoy the contrast of texture between the crumbly dough and a very silky custard. So if you want to just skip over the dough process, even though it takes literally 5 minutes to make, you can still go to the supermarket, get a short crust dough from the fresh section or a puff pastry from the frozen section. It's up to you. So let's start, shall we? So for the shortbread crust, this is what you're gonna need. You're gonna need 125 grams of softened butter, 125 grams of regular sugar, 250 grams of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 large egg, and a big pinch of salt. I'm going to post the conversion on the screen because this way I'm not going to make any mistakes in the process. As I said, it will take us about 5 minutes and no special equipment. So what you need to do is you take your flour and you're going to simply put all the ingredients in. Try to get everything out. Sugar, the baking powder, the salt. Keep the egg away for the moment. And using your hand, you're going to just mix everything until you get a crumbly, sandy, like grains of sand. It will take maybe 3 minutes. It's pretty quick. As you can see, the mix is already very crumbly. I hope you can see how it looks like right now. What you need to do now is take the egg, I always like to whisk the egg a little bit, it's easier to absorb. And you fold everything in until you have a smoother ball of dough without overworking it either. I think I'm getting there. All you have to do is continue mixing it with the tip of your fingers, and it's done. The dough is actually done. I don't think it took me 5 minutes. So I'm going to try to remove all of that stuff. Feel like in kindergarten with Play-Doh. I'm going to take a bowl with some plastic wrap. I'm going to just put the dough in. I'm going to make a ball out of that. Mix a little bit more. I like doing it with the plastic wrap. It's easier, I find. And your dough is ready. All you need to do is close the plastic wrap. Press it a couple of times on both sides. The dough is done. It goes for at least half an hour in the fridge. So let's start on the custard. For this you will need 6 large eggs, 300 grams of regular sugar, 300 grams of heavy cream. You will need 120 centiliters of whole milk. It's 4 cups and 3/4. You will need 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, and you will need 120 grams of cornstarch. Again, the conversions will be posted on the screen. Okay, so in a bowl, I put the 6 eggs, and I'm whisking them. I'm going to add half of the sugar, roughly. That should do it. And remember that one of the things is that your custard will be much better if you have good quality eggs and good quality milk. You're going to add the cornstarch. So with cornstarch, always be gentle at first, otherwise everything is going to fly everywhere. I'm a messy baker, but that is really bad. Until everything is incorporated, do not be too violent. Okay, now you can go. You can obviously do this with a hand mixer. It's getting smooth. I'm going to add the vanilla. And I'm going to add now the heavy cream. By doing it like this, you basically remove all the grainy part of the cornstarch, and so you have a very smooth custard. All right, first part is done. Okay, so I have put all the milk in the pot to boil. It's still not completely boiling, but I'm adding the remaining sugar. And as soon as it will dissolve, we're going to start the custard. So as usual, I took a recipe that was too small. So I'm going to put it in a bigger one. Give it a little bit of a whisk here. Where are we here? I think we're good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pour the boiled milk and sugar into the custard. Going to whisk it, give it a little whisk. And now I'm going to pour everything back into the pan. And on medium heat, medium high, I'm going to whisk it. It will take about 2 to 3 minutes. And it's going to become a thick custard. Do not stop whisking. You do not want it to stick to the bottom and scorch. Okay, as you can see, the cream has now reached a boil. It took me about 3 minutes. And you're going to continue whisking it pretty hard. That's a workout, so much liquid. For about a minute. So it's going to be thick and rich and silky. That thing is absolutely gorgeous. So it is done for me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let it rest and let it cool. Okay? So while the custard is cooling, let's take care of the dough, shall we? We usually use these, which are called the rims or the circles, but most people do not have these. What I recommend is to use something that most people have in their kitchen in this country, which is a spring form, from which I remove the bottom. So you basically have the same thing. We're going to grease it. Okay, that's done. And let's deal with the dough. So I put a little bit of flour under it, and I'm going to roll it to 3 to 4 millimeters, basically 1/6 of an inch. Okay, so the dough can be quite hard to work at the beginning because it is cold. Believe me, you do not want it to get very warm because it will be impossible to roll. Little bit by little bit, be patient and it will work. If the dough gets too warm, just put it back in the fridge for 10 minutes and it will be much easier to deal with. So I think we are now at the right width. I'm going to use the circle with the indentation on top. What I'm going to do, and that's how I usually put the dough in this type of mold. Also because the sandy dough, as you will have noticed by now, is not an easy dough to work with. So all I do is I press the circle on the dough and just remove everything that is around so that you have a perfectly bottomed mold. This being done, I'm going to use a cookie sheet. In my case, I use a perforated metal one because I like the way the heat circulates. And I'm going to slide the paper with the mold on it. I'm going to put aside for a second. I will take an extra piece of parchment paper, or if you want to use a board, it's fine too. I'm just too lazy to clean it. And I'm going to roll my dough. This time in a rectangle, in a long rectangle. The goal is to cut 2 large bands that will be the sides of the flan. What we're going to do is cut this piece of dough halfway to make 2 bands. And we're going to bring back the mold, and all we need to do is bring those bands around the sides of the mold, making sure that you're going to have the sides nicely against the bottom. So you're going to press the bottom of the dough. Can you catch this? So press nicely so that, and press nicely around the edge as well. We'll put the rest here. Making sure everything is snugly pressed at the bottom so that it seals the sides and the base. And now with the leftover dough, I'm going to do some patching. I'm going to put some more here. Because you really want it going all the way up. Don't forget, this is supposed to be a rustic type of dessert, so it doesn't have to be all dainty and pretty. So it's been half an hour. I preheated my oven at 425 Fahrenheit, which is 210 Celsius. I just retrieved my mold with the dough, which is nice and chilled from the fridge. What I'm going to do is with a fork, I'm going to prick everywhere at the bottom and on the sides. More here. Okay, that should not be here. Okay, now I'm going to take the cream that has been cooling and I'm going to pour the cream into the pan. As you can see, there's a lot of it. This flan will feed at least 8 people. The good thing is it lasts about 72 hours in the fridge, so you have time to treat yourself a little piece every day, if you can resist. I'm going to spread everything evenly. Here we go. A bit on the side here. As you can see, it comes pretty high. I don't know if you can see, it comes pretty high Okay, and I'm going to put it in the oven for 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, I'm going to lower the temperature to 400 Fahrenheit, 180 Celsius, and bake for an extra 45 minutes. Okay, so 10 minutes now, lower the temperature to 400 and bake for 45 minutes. So I'll see you in an hour. So here it is. It's been, as I said before, 10 minutes at 425 and 45 minutes at 400. I just took it out. I just wanted to show you how wobbly it is when you take it out. So do not fear. It is cooked, but it is going to need to rest for an hour. And then you place it in the fridge for at least 4 hours. I usually do it this way and then put it in the fridge overnight. The one thing to remember is do not unmold until it is completely cold. Otherwise, the walls of the flan are not going to be able to resist the weight of the custard, and everything is going to collapse. So leave it, as I said, 1 hour to rest, then at least 4 hours in the fridge or overnight. So it will keep for about 72 hours without any problem. I'll see you a little bit later, maybe tomorrow, to show you how the cut is and how it tastes. See you later. Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, this cake has rested overnight in the fridge. Today I took it out a few hours ago to bring it back to room temperature. So once you're taking it out of the fridge, slide it on your cutting board. Do not pick up the mold on top of it. If you have a bottomless mold, the whole thing is going to collapse because it is very heavy. So we're going to, here we go. It could have cooked maybe 5 minutes less, but still it's going to be delicious. Going to cut this. Nice crunch. We're going to be reasonable. One thought that I had is, if you realize at the end of the cooking that the top is not really brown like this, you're better off stopping the baking maybe 7 minutes earlier and put it for 30 seconds under the broiler. Or if you have a torch, just go with the torch. But you really want to have that burnt aspect. Look at this. It is, you can see it here and here. You have the set custard, which is very silky, as you can see, very soft, with a nice crunchy shell. And I'm going to try, because that is so regressive. I'm going back many years. That's very good. Full of vanilla, the crunchiness of the crust. It's extremely regressive. Please do try to make this. It's really great. Children usually love it. Grown-ups love it as well. You can add more vanilla if you want. You can add a little rum if you want. There's nothing wrong about that. So make it, post the pictures, post your questions. I'd love to read them. If you like the video, share it and subscribe. Put that little thumb, and bon appétit, à bientôt.